What's happening, man? What's going on, y'all boy? What's up? What's up? It's your boy Ricky Dose, man. I'm back, man. It's LIB Media, man. And so, real quick, so I was, having a regular day. I was just, strolling through YouTube, and I happened to see like a clip from First Take, and it caught my attention because it was Deion Sanders, right? I'm like, all right, cool, Deion, right? So I see Deion talking, and of course it was just a clip. I gotta see if I can find the whole interview, which I didn't find yet, but I just want to speak on just the clip. It was Deion Sanders talking about how college football should introduce a salary cap because now it's kind of unfair for other teams to compete with other teams without the salary cap. And that just made me say, without having a salary cap, so he's pretty much saying like the top players should get, a certain amount of money. Lower players shouldn't get that because they're not that good of a player, whatever the case may be, right? Blah, blah, blah. And that'll help teams be able to compete. Now, I had to immediately cut the video off for a second because I was like, what? Like, have we not been watching college football for years? The new NIL now obviously is not complete, and there's a lot of things that they gotta fix to help other stuff. But he was like, "Oh, well, if a lesser player on your team wants to go to," and I'm gonna have the clip in here though. So
Makes this. And if you're not that type of guy, you know you're not going to make that. That's what the NFL does. So the problem is you got a guy that's not that darn good, but he could go to another school and they give him $500,000 and you can't compete with that. That don't make sense. All you have to do is look at the playoffs and see what those teams spent. And you understand darn near why they're in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard to compete with somebody who's giving $25-30 million to a darn freshman class.
All right, we've got Paul Feinbaum, Kevin.
um, unless a player goes to another team for $500,000 and he's not a big time player on your team, well, you can't compete with that because you don't have the money. It's crazy because I'm like, bro, hold on. College football as a whole has been that way forever. NIL has made college football the most competitive it's been in years. There was a run where Bama was just winning the national championship. Why? Because everybody was going to Bama and everybody was an NFL player and they all was sitting on the bench waiting until they turned until it was time for them to start. Every once in a while, you would have, Clemson and then like LSU. And the reason why Clemson was able to do it is because Clemson was stacking up talent, stacking up slowly but surely stacking up. And then they looking and they had 3 players on the defensive line alone that went high in the draft. 2 first-round picks off of that defensive line with Cleveland Farrell them. That, like, college football has always been this way. I'm trying to figure out, like, oh, well, that might help other teams compete. Cool, but if that was the case, then they could have did that in so many different ways for so long before. Like, I don't have a problem with them saying we need to add a salary cap. I don't think you should do it on players. I think it should be like on the team, right? And if you want to do it on the team, it's fair because you're saying, well, Ohio State got the most money, so they was able to pay for the most players, so they won a national championship. But that was before NIL too. Ohio State was one of the teams who could win a national championship because their team name and the prestige of the school as a football school already existed. So players were already going to Ohio State. Like players were going to transfer there anyway, right? Colorado is not a big time school with a big time name. Now Deion Sanders himself is a big time name, right? I feel that. Like we all love Deion. But come on, bro. Like that's not the reason it is the way it is. If you look at the college football playoff, right? Like you had a couple of schools who squeaked in, but the schools who were like making a name for themselves were already big time schools that were going to already do something. Notre Dame, Penn State, right? Texas, like these are prestige football schools already. That's not necessarily an NIL thing. Like people, they've boosters been giving back to their football program for years. So I'm kind of confused from that standpoint. What I'll say though is they do got to do something about NIL because it is going a little crazy. Some players are staying too long. I get it, but you can't be mad at those players. They trying to make that money. Hey, I would have did the same thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm not mad at that at all. Especially if they don't believe they're going like in a very, very high round in the NFL draft. Can't really blame them for thinking the way that they're thinking. I would have thought that way too. But I think a salary cap can be implemented, but it has to be in a different way. It can't be like it can't be like the NFL. He used the NFL as an example, but that's just a totally different ball game because the team in the NFL has a salary cap. It's not on individual players. The high market players in the league are high market players because they are, and the teams choose to pay them as such. The flip side to that is when you have those high market players in the NFL, if that team does not want to pay them, they can go someplace else and get paid. That's not necessarily going to be the same thing in college football because if you got five stars, regardless of them, they're all 5 different 5-star players. And you might not even have got to really see them play just yet, but now it's going to be even more of a business from the school part because you got kids signing scholarships to go to a school and they get to that school and then they're like, hey, well, I need $3 million to play. And they're like, no, we can't do that. And now the kids are like, well, I need to look around and see what else I can go. And then it's just going to be a whole frenzy. And the transfer portal is going to get even more crazy than what it is now. They'll definitely have to find a way to like negotiate those contracts like beforehand, and then who's going to the league and who's staying. Because then if you got a salary cap, you might think one player is leaving, then they decide at the end of the year they want to come back, but you already got this 5-star coming in, and it'll just be kind of crazy. So they do need to implement something, but I just thought that was kind of mind-blowing. Like, have we not already been watching college football? Like, has that not always just been a thing where the big schools are the big schools and the smaller schools can do what they can? And every once in a while, you might have a run. You might get a Cam Newton at Auburn and just have a crazy run outside of that. This has been the college football playoff has been the most interesting I've seen it, where you have like, teams like SMU, and even though, they lost, you got teams like that get a chance to make it, and they don't have to play the toughest team, but they get to play somebody and they might can make some noise. So I don't know. Y'all give me y'all thoughts on that, man, because that just kind of caught me by a blind side. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. But this has been your boy Rick, man. That's LIB Media, man. Y'all like, comment, subscribe. I'm out of here. Peace.